All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of SaberSim's DFS office hours. Today is Wednesday, May 29th of 2024. Looking ahead, we have a 5-game early MLB slate already underway today. Good luck to all of you playing that contest. We have a 7-game MLB main slate later this evening, and then we have a single NHL showdown. No NBA until Thursday here. So should be a fun day of DFS. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew. I am one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. This is a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS related questions. You get your questions in one of 3 ways here. First off, send us an email, support@sabersim.com. Second, post it live in the YouTube chat. Third way, post it in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord and want to get access to that channel, there is a link in the description of this video. You also get access to our similar channels, individual sport channels, and you get access to the rest of the SaberSim team. So can't say enough good things here about the Discord. We do the show Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, and we do the show on Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. But hope you guys enjoyed having Jordan doing the show for a couple of days here. I had a couple of days off here, so I feel rejuvenated, happy to be back, and thank you again to Jordan for covering for me while I was out here. But we're going to jump right in. It looks like we have a few questions here in the Discord to get us going. So let me get SaberSim pulled up here, and we will jump right in. All right, question here from Ron. I will try to watch the next office hours, but I have a NASCAR question. I watched a couple of your videos. I didn't do too well last week in a 20 max using very straightforward simulations. The top 1, 2 or so drivers did very well relative, but the exposures must have been off. I'm trying that mean calculation next week. I will also try more diversification, but is there anything else you would suggest for building lineups? And then a follow-up to this question. What about using groups? What if I put my pool of potential dominators in a group and force 2 per pool? Maybe another group of value plays, or perhaps play around with minimax exposures. Maybe my sample size was too small, but maybe I just need to keep at it for a few weeks. So one thing I'll say is that, it is very hard to judge how you're doing in weekly sports, right? I mean, if you think about it, and I'll just use NFL, for example, a sport that I know a little bit better. NFL, you have 18 main slates, right? There are 18 regular season main slates where all the teams are playing, very large slate. Well, go and compare that to a sport like MLB, where you are getting 30 to 31 slates a month for 6 months: April, May, June, July, August, September, right? We're talking 6 full months. Well, 6 times 30 is 180. So if you look at just like the raw sample size comparing NFL to MLB, you're going to need 10 seasons of NFL games just to have the equivalent of 1 season of MLB slates. And that is to say that, you could be a really good NFL player, but go on like a terrible down streak and lose for 3 seasons. Like that is like incredibly possible. But, if you look at MLB, you're going to have so many slates in a season where, hopefully the variance smooths itself out and you basically come back in that season that you hypothetically start off bad. So NASCAR is going to be really similar. Golf is going to be really similar. All of these weekly sports where you have a finite amount of main slates. So I would say that, it's very possible, like that's what you're experiencing here. It is tough when, you only get, 1 cup race per week here. But what I will say is that, your best place to spend some time figuring out like, hey, what's working, what's not, is going to be in your contest flashback. And I think that, you could take some of these strategies and apply them to different contests, right? So let's say that, you go to play in the cup race for this last Sunday. Maybe you do something like this, right? Maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to build lineups for the $1.20 max. I'm going to build them a very certain way. And then I'm going to go and build lineups for the 25 cent 20 max. And I'm going to build those a different way. And then I'm going to come in here last but not least, and, maybe I go and do another like bigger size contest, maybe like the $4.20 max, right? All of these are like 20 to 30,000 entries. So I think that, you can kind of compare the results across them fairly consistently here, right? Like quarter jukebox, 28,500 entries, $1.20 max, 41,000 entries, $4.20 max, 37,000 entries. And, let's say you take 3 different approaches, right? And then after the race, you come in here, it's like, okay, hey, I did this one just kind of following like the NASCAR guide. I did this other one with groups and rules, and I did like my dominators and my value plays. And then, I did this other contest with a different strategy, right, that you come up with. Well, now you have 3 different contests with 3 different strategies, and then you can go into contest flashback and see how your portfolio of lineups graded out across all 3. And then that is a way where you're basically comparing strategies, but like that different strategies that you ran. And then you're going to see, okay, hey, which ones are grading out better in the Sims? Which one am I closer to the top? Which ones am I lower? How is this working out? So that is like the approach that I would take here, a little bit trial and error, a little bit diversification. And, in something like NASCAR, you're going to have plenty of time to do that. Once qualifying's over, you could build your lineups. So, you should have plenty of time to get that information in and plenty of time to do these different builds. So that would be my number one suggestion here about how to go about that. And then make sure you come back and review the contest to see how you ultimately did. All right, good question there. Jumping over to the YouTube chat. Question from Johnny. Johnny said, hello, any suggestions about someone who's playing 1 or 2 entries for a FanDuel large prize contest in baseball, say $9 to $15 entry fee? Yeah, a couple questions here. I'm sorry, a couple thoughts here. So we released a video basically like directly around this concept of like, hey, I'm playing, one lineup or like 1 or 2 lineups, right? And if you go to our YouTube channel, go to videos, it's going to be this video here, 5-step process to building profitable MLB DFS lineups in 2024.
Contests on the slate.
Idea behind this video is like, hey, how do you go about, finding a single lineup, finding the one lineup that you want to play and take with you into the contest that you're playing? So this is going to be the best way to do that. And I will drop it here in the YouTube chat. I do got to say that, one thing that we talk about here a lot is like, hey, it is incredibly high variance to play one lineup in a contest where, people are playing 150 lineups. And one of the best things that you can do is, take that $9 to $15 and go put it in a different contest, right? Like you could take $15 and you could play 150 entries in the piggy bank. You could play the $1 single entry, the $2 single entry, the $1 3 max, and you could get more lineups in, right? So in that case, I would really recommend, exploring that option and possibly doing something like that. We have a lot of content like around that, but I know like you're going to play what you want. So, I'm going to show you, my best advice for that first. And then I'm going to give you, just a little bit more advice about contest selection overall here. So good luck either way, whatever you decide. No worries. But good question there. Let's jump back to SaberSim here. Pull up our contest tab. Okay, that was NASCAR. Let's go back. Today is Wednesday. MLB. So yeah, the 7-gamer a little bit later this evening. And looks like those are all the questions we had here at the moment. I don't mind doing a quick run through of MLB here, building some MLB lineups for tonight. And, first thing I always recommend is check the weather, guys. Make sure that games you're going to play, games don't have postponement risk, games don't have a high chance of delay. If games do have a high chance of delay, I am totally into coming in here and just Xing out those pitchers. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games here, 14 pitchers, plenty of options. I don't love chancing like the delay risk, but that is my own personal risk tolerance. If you're like, hey, this guy's going to have lower ownership because of it, then, more power to you. Good luck. Just be careful. So first thing, come in here, make 2 small adjustments to projections, go to my settings, set my settings up for the contest that I'm playing. Maybe it's 150 max. I like to come in here and turn on a lineup rule where I don't use batters against opposing pitchers because I don't think the negative correlation is necessary. And I'm only going to build 500 lineups here for this demo. So let's kick these off and see what they're looking like. And while that runs, I'm going to jump over to the contest tab. If you have a CSV here, just go ahead and click download template file from DraftKings or FanDuel and bring that contest file into the app here. I'm going to say that I am playing a $4.20 max, playing the 4-seamer here. So I'm going to go and set up my contest sim for that contest. And lineups are just about finished here. And I'm going to click run contest sim. So once our contest sim finishes here, we'll be able to jump in. I'm going to move some columns around just so I can kind of see everything that I prefer to see, specifically exposure pool and leverage columns. All right, that is done. So let's go over to our sorting metrics, go to our 4-seamer, switch over to risk adjusted ROI here. Now, what I like to do is come in, sort by exposure, and I just like to automatically bump up my min uniques. I'm going to bump it up to 5 here, 10 players in a DraftKings MLB lineup. So I just want to, kind of see where that takes me. Scroll down to the last lineup in my set of 20. Took me down to lineup 28. So very, very high in the pool still. That tells me that a lot of my lineups are naturally diversified, which is great. So I'm going to push it a little bit. Let's get to 6 min uniques. Let's get to 7 min uniques. And at 7 min uniques, right, this is an interesting spot. So rank 192 out of 500, but my last lineup is negative 1.7% sim ROI. My second to last lineup is 4.8% sim ROI. So I'm going to back it up here to 6. And that way, my last lineup is 22% positive sim ROI, and it still gives me a little bit of flexibility to make some manual adjustments here. So I think that's good. Happy with how that's looking. Now I'm jumping over my stack exposures. Most of my lineups are 5 stacks. That is in line with what my pool exposure looks like. So we have one lineup here that's a 3-3 stack. There's only 3 in my entire pool. I can always click the magnifying glass and just see hey, what does this lineup look like? And this is the actual last lineup in my set. So chances are we're getting this lineup specifically because I've put this requirement on the builder to have so many min uniques. I'm interested to see what happens if I X this out. And what does our last lineup look like now? Lineup 60, it's a 5 stack. So I think I'd rather have it this way. These are some small changes. But ultimately, I'm good with that. I prefer to play a 4 or bigger stack here. Jumping over to teams, really like Toronto, like New York a little bit. Cleveland here, interesting, right? Showing up the most in our pool at about 50%, but our 3rd highest stack, right? So, it seems like the builder is taking some leverage and would rather play Toronto, still a high run total there, and get off of some of those chalky Cleveland bats with their very high run total in Coors, right? So I'm okay with that here. I'm going to trust the builder. We're still getting to some Cleveland, not a bunch. In this case, I think about it hey, we're getting to the best Cleveland lineups, and I'm okay with that leverage. Coming to here, going to look at pitchers specifically. So a lot of leverage on Alek Manoah here, kind of falls in line with our Toronto stacks, right? If, Toronto does well, then he gets some more chances at getting his win bonus. So all of that is fine. It is kind of a lot of leverage. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing this down. We've talked about 2 to 3x a player's ownership. So if you want to bump him down to 60%, I think that's fine. If you prefer that, I'm going to leave him here. Jumping over to batters. and one batter in 45% of our lineups, no batter in 35%. I'm assuming Kirk wasn't expected to start here, which is why he has no ownership, which is probably why he's in such a high number of lineups, because he's not in the field lineups yet. So if I were to run this a little bit closer to lock, I bet you that he would come down a little bit because his ownership would ultimately go up here. So, it's totally fine to just like match him to like, okay, hey, let's put his max exposure down to the other players here and just be happy with that. So all that looks good to me. That still keeps us at lineup number 63, 20% positive sim ROI. And I would be happy entering these lineups. These lineups look good to me. They're balanced and there's nothing that I'm uncomfortable with. So again, it comes down to personal risk tolerance. Some of those small minor decisions you got to make along the way here, but that is what I would do if I was building some MLB lineups for today. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Happy to be back. I will be back here tomorrow, Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern for our next show. So until then, everybody, take care. Good luck. I'll see you all. Thanks. Bye.